views going up, big bro just said get to it. I got the motion, but they can't pursue it. Putting them on, y'all feel like it's cute, but they already knew it. Man, is you dumb, is you stupid? How you fall off and you copy my method? You messing with game and you messing with me, so don't even try it. You better respect, you flex.
That time, whatever, boy, what's good? Oh Lord's back, man, let's get back into this shit. That time, the world's finest got jumped.
The movie starts off with the United States going into the second Great Depression because one of these niggas fumbled the bag, which leaves a beautiful presidential position for Lex Luthor to exploit. And they tell us through this nut-ass Colbert show that he's basically...
Okay, let me rephrase that. This is about everybody in the world jumping Superman, okay.
Just paying for votes, and that's when I really understood that Lex is genuinely a genius. He probably caused this recession just to use his bands to outwit the government. So now that Lex is president, all the heroes in America are under his control, but not any of the good ones like the B-tier heroes. The only one of these niggas that I've ever heard of growing up is Power Girl, but that's only because her titties are burned into my neurons, and also Black Lightning. But Clark is not convinced that the nigga that would slime him out for decades has turned over a new leaf. In fact, when Superman helps with this high-speed chase, these three meat gobblers pull up and start pressing Clark. They want him to admit that Lex Luthor has saved the country and become a D1 meat rider like they are. But Superman has a +10 defense against lame niggas. We cut to Lex Luthor and Amanda Waller, and this has to be the most disgusting depiction of this bitch I could possibly imagine. You're gonna sit here and tell me that's not a short nigga in a dress? And I know Amanda Waller canonically has a buzz cut, but why did they have to give this bitch the Jon Stewart drop fade? But Amanda Waller's appearance aside, they're discussing how a kryptonite meteor is about to crash land into Earth. I thought that shit was a rare material. You saying that shit just floating around in outer space? So because of the imminent threat about to destroy Earth, Lex publicly asks Superman for help as the president, saying it's time for them to bury the hatchet and lock in for the good of humanity. And this nigga Superman is in the Batcave watching this announcement the entire time. He dips out to go link up with Lex to try to see how he can help out with the meteor, and they're chatting when Superman starts to feel woozy as hell, and Lex is cheesing in his face like he just put a Perk 500 in his drink. Lex Luthor rage bait needs to be studied. Turns out the bodyguard right behind him is actually Metallo, an automaton completely powered by kryptonite. Superman tosses this nigga aside to deal with his symptoms, and Metallo starts going to work on this nigga's cheekbones. He saw that Superman was touchable and took his chance, but Clark counters the whole situation and vehicularly slaughters this nigga. Bro walks out of the flames, hits a Terminator emote, and starts wailing on Superman. He must have been using a portion of his power earlier because the combinations get even nastier, slapping gang around until he got him on the ropes and starts violating Clark in the most tragic way possible. He uses his laser vision to melt through the face cuff just in time and delivers a haymaker, embedding Metallo into the side of the pavement. But again, bro's entire existence is a Terminator reference, and they start boxing in a graveyard. Metallo eventually grips this nigga up for the second time.
Batman? Yep, Batman.
Tries to get Clark away from the kryptonite, but this nigga gets gripped up just like Superman did. I don't know why bro feels the need to spam. He gets his arm chopped off with heat vision, so with no other options left, Metallo takes a more wise approach and forms a gun around a piece of kryptonite, puts a bullet in Clark's chest, literally putting him in a grave. So Batman puts a bomb on this nigga and hops down to go do surgery on Superman immediately. Clark is cracking jokes and shit while being operated on until Metallo reforms and buries them both alive, and they escape by blasting a hole into the sewers. Batman drags him to a secret entrance of the Batcave to have Alfred extract the rest of the bullet, just in time to see Lex framing him for the murder of his bodyguard on national television, with the only ones believing in his innocence being Power Girl and Batman. So the world's finest goes to prove his innocence by doing an autopsy on the body. Obviously the body doesn't belong to Metallo, but while they're leaving they get jumped by the entire rogue gallery. Literally every D-tier villain you can think of. Like, why the fuck is Captain Cold trying to get a bounty on Superman? Screech tries to attack Superman and gets dragged to the stratosphere and suffocated, just as every single ice-themed villain is freezing Batman at once. So Clark starts raining heat vision down on these niggas like a fighter jet. So after all the ice-themed heroes get packed up, Solomon Grundy and this nigga I've never seen in my life before pull up like they're on a mission, sends one of them Tony Stark chest beams at Superman, immediately went to go follow up while Solomon Grundy is manhandling my goat. This nigga drowns Batman in a shallow fountain, and I'm sitting here thinking that he truly violated Bruce before he reaches to go take off his mask and gets blasted with tear gas, smacks the shit out of Grundy and starts hitting crits left and right while Clark is dismantling this fraud Mongol. Batman gets interrupted by Lady Shiva and takes the time out of his day to explain the philosophy philosophy of gender equality. And just when they thought they were done getting jumped, Nightshade comes out of the woodwork and pins Bruce down. Now, throughout all of these encounters, these villains have been spitting in such intellectual tongue that Batman puts together that Gorilla Grodd is actually the one controlling them. So this nigga Bruce sends a grapple hook around Grodd's neck and has Superman pull him down from a skyscraper, which had to have killed this monkey. And they look around to realize that they're surrounded by every bum-ass villain in the DC universe, and they're getting jumped like crazy until a fake-out Justice League pulls up, and Clark tries to thank them for saving them from this jumping. And that nigga says, nah, I'm here to run the fade. And immediately once those words are said, Batman starts doing crowd control, started beating the women in the group with no hesitation. Bro must get his hands from John Jones. Everybody with powers is jumping the fuck out of Superman, obviously. Captain Planet is putting hands on my boy, and Element Man starts violating out of nowhere. This nigga was fiending for the chance to get some licks in. So Superman gets tired of being embarrassed like this and creates a whirlwind, rips up Power Girl to have a private conversation. When these four pull up, they'll run that shit back, and they waste no time getting busy. And while Superman is putting hands on this nigga, Batman has to keep Element Man at bay. But after he starts losing to one, he starts airing that nigga's dirty laundry. Tells everybody that he's the one who actually killed Metallo, causing him to absolutely crash out. And before he can successfully murder Batman, Power Girl goes in to hit him with a gut-wrenching attack. But this punch breaks the thin shell that is Element Man's skin, which contains the living energy that is Element Man. So Captain Planet takes one for the team and absorbs the energy to stop the world from exploding.
I'm not going to say I told you so.
General, what the hell happened?
We didn't take into account all that radiation.
So he's just in his office tweaking while Superman and Batman are trying to find information about the meteor. When Shazam sneaks Superman out of nowhere, and Hawkman grabs Batman in a fucking net while Clark is smacking this nigga around. When Superman gets his punch gripped mid-swing, Shazam breaks bro up, grabs the back of Clark's scalp, and tosses gang into the ground. But Batman pulls some elite comms, gets out of the netting, and they perform one of the world's finest maneuvers right before our very eye. Meanwhile, the entire world is descending into chaos, with the meteor about to end all life and Lex failing to stop it. So Amanda Waller goes to talk to Lex, being the president, and catches this nigga in the middle of injecting himself with Trent. Bro's been juicing with a mixture of liquid kryptonite and a number of steroids, causing him to be even more tweaked out than usual. He tells Amanda that he's completely fine with the meteor hitting. He intends to rule the planet after most of it is destroyed by the meteor, and then tries to seduce her for some reason.
Let a nigga slip it in. Why you acting like this? Don't come to my crib. Thinking that we just go chill. You threw on Netflix. You listen to my music. Just let a nigga smash, please.
Whoa.
Lex canonically likes BBWs, but before he can start working, he gets an alert that Shazam and Hawkman are back from their mission. So he puts back on his suit and goes over to meet them, only to figure out he got bamboozled. And it's Superman and Batman in Shazam and Hawkman's costumes. And when Superman tries to grip Lex Luthor up, the liquid kryptonite in his bloodstream starts affecting Clark. So Bruce presses him instead. Lex refuses to give them any information about the meteor. So Amanda Waller backdoors Lex and gives them the drive. And now Lex Luthor is once again a fugitive. Back to his old ways, this nigga books it to his suit, empties the rest of his roids into his arm, and hops inside of the power armor just to chase after Superman. Now after getting the drive from Amanda, Bruce and Clark go to Toyman for help, a Japanese child prodigy, who happens to be a big fan of Superman and Batman, explaining why he has a space mech designed after both of their outfits. But just as they're about to get ready to go stop the meteor, Lex blasts open the door to the warehouse, sending Power Girl's breasts flying across the room. Superman hears the commotion, goes to check out what's going on, but gets hit with a kryptonite beam round Stark. He slides in to try to land the finishing blow on Clark, but Batman intervenes with his grappling hook. But I do not know why he thought that shit would be effective. And Lex starts beating the shit out of Superman while giving his signature D1 hater speech, explaining how there isn't a morning he wakes up and doesn't want to run Superman's fade. But before his dumbass finishes him off, he has to go try to stop Toymaster from saving everybody from the missile and destroys the control system, forcing the once remote control robot to be manually piloted. So Batman chooses to pilot the robot, sacrificing himself in a suicide mission for the planet. And after seeing that shit, Superman don't even care about the kryptonite anymore. He starts beating the dog shit out of Lex, so bad that this nigga nigga tried to flee the scene, only to get chased down and his armor
Whoa.
destroyed in midair. And Superman is like this close to killing bro and being done with it. But he looks up to see the nobility of Batman's sacrifice and decides to let him off with some mild liver damage. And Batman isn't really dead as Superman goes up to check and finds his space pods floating around. So Superman's name is cleared, Lex is back in jail, and Batman is still a fucking goat. We recently got to 10K subs. Thanks for subscribing.
Hey, shout out to that nigga, boy. That nigga made that shit funny as fuck, boy. That nigga, check that nigga out, bro.